All right, everyone, we'll get started. So good morning. Thank you all for joining us today. My name is Sue Lodamore, and I'm Senior Vice President of Business Development for NFP. And I have the pleasure of hosting today's Breaking Benefits session, which is focused on financial wellness. Financial wellness, sometimes referred to as financial well-being, means the ability to have a healthy financial life. It is being in a situation where you control your day-to-day or month-to-month finances while having the freedom and security to deal with financial emergencies and stay on track to meet your long-term financial goals. With inflation still hovering near 40-year highs, it's getting harder for workers across all income levels to make ends meet. You have the opportunity to play an important role in providing financial education and resources to support all stakeholders within your organization. The benefits to the company include a positive impact on recruitment and retention. This is certainly a top issue for all employers today. Improved employee well-being, which impacts culture and business results, and retirement readiness. So joining me today are three industry experts who will share focused financial management strategies that can have a positive impact on employees. So I am pleased to introduce Holly Knight, who's a senior advisor for WellSense. Holly brings decades of experience in financial services and education to today's discussion. She's been tapped by various outlets to participate in workshops and symposiums on financial wellness. And Holly is an industry expert in WellSense, an outsourced end-to-end holistic financial wellness program, which she's going to be speaking with us about today. Also joining the panel is Rick Van Benschoten. Rick is an expert in WellSense Plus. This is an executive financial planning platform designed for senior level leadership. Rick has more than 30 years of experience in managing wealth and investments for clients and is a frequent event speaker and is often sought out by various media outlets such as Forbes, Worth, CNN, CNBC, and others. He's sought out for his insights and opinions. And last but certainly not least is David Krasnow. He's CEO of Thrive. This is an innovative program that David created in 2019 that uses 401k employer matching dollars to pay student loan debt without increasing the employer's benefits budget. David speaks at various national industry forums, including Shroom, ASPA, and Spark. So just a few housekeeping notes. At the end of the presentation, we will be opening up to questions. So please feel free to use the Q&A feature to submit your questions, and we'll also be monitoring the chat box. Also, the program is being recorded, so you'll all be receiving an email with the recording and a copy of the presentation. So at this point, I'd like to turn it over to Holly Knight.
Hi, all right, thank you so much. Can you all see my screen?
We can.
Awesome. All right. Well, hi, everyone. Thanks for taking the time to be part of this discussion. I'm really excited to be here today with my colleagues talking about a topic that's really important to me. We're at a pivotal time, a time when this pandemic has shown a light on the fact that so many folks are not financially well and they're struggling day to day. And while the financial services industry has taken some really great strides to help employees reach their retirement goals, we know we still have a ways to go. So before I share a brief overview of our solution to change that paradigm, I wanted to share a quick 2-minute video with you that introduces WellSense, and hopefully it will go off okay.
Americans are stressed. 84% of stress is financial stress. 64% of Americans say they can't cover a $1,000 emergency without borrowing money. This financial stress weighing on the minds of your employees reduces productivity at the workplace. The historical and current model of financial education in the workplace is reactive and self-service, and as a result, only obtains 1 to 2% utilization, which is not improving the outcomes to enhance your employees' financial well-being. Human resources professionals with the many hats they wear on a daily basis do not have the time to implement and manage an ongoing, successful financial wellness program. WellSense was developed using principles from behavioral finance to get employees engaged and take action to better their financial lives. WellSense is a fully outsourced, end-to-end holistic financial wellness program. It features proactive employee engagement, customized campaigns, individual wellness assessments, group session content, and one-on-one meetings with a financial professional. Compared to the average 1 to 2% utilization, WellSense obtains 35 to 75% utilization from employees. After all, why offer a benefit unless people will actually use it? Our team will directly engage your employees through a combination of strategic and customized emails, text messages, social media, posters, prizes, and gamification. Employees want and need proactive outreach, engagement, and hand-holding to secure their financial future. Get on track to empower happy, healthy, and appreciative employees by providing them with a roadmap to financial success. Join the many employers who offered a benefit that will make a huge impact on employees' lives and help retain key talent. Consider WellSense today.
All right. So today, financial wellness has to encompass more than just advice on retirement, right? It's hard to talk about tomorrow's retirement money if you're not budgeting and you find yourself living paycheck to paycheck. Maybe you don't have an emergency fund set up to cover any unexpected surprises like the loss of a job, or maybe your roof needs replacing, or you're struggling with paying down debt or saving for a kid's college education. It means understanding investment so that you're invested in the right funds for your goals, time frame, and your risk tolerance. Or maybe it means having the right protection through insurance and estate planning so that all your hard work during your earning years doesn't disappear with an accident, volatile markets, or legal issues. So all of these components together are really important for our financial health. And so WellSense looks at each of these individually. Within all of those, they kind of fall into 4 main areas. Investment planning, so asset allocation, diversification, risk tolerance, and the person's timeline to create the right investment portfolio for them. Protection planning, again, it's insurance, wills, trusts, healthcare proxies. After working so hard during your earning years, you want to make sure you're protecting your nest egg from anything that's unexpected. Personal finance, getting a handle on budgeting, establishing an adequate emergency fund, creating an action plan for debt reduction, all important for reaching short and long-term goals. And then, of course, retirement planning. This is planning for tax efficiencies in the distribution phase, optimizing your investments, and looking at Social Security and healthcare planning in addition to your retirement. So all of these components are crucial to a person's overall financial wellness. So we look at this as a very comprehensive and holistic approach. It leverages financial experts and intelligent technology to offer a platform tailored to the unique needs of the average person who's embarking on a financial wellness journey. It starts with a month-long campaign, so where people are offered an incentive to register with the program and take a 5-minute assessment. Once they've completed that assessment, they're given a score from 0 to 100, and they're asked if they would like to schedule a one-on-one consultation with an advisor. When the employee meets with that advisor, they discuss their goals and their financial gaps, which are uncovered by the assessment. And the advisor is going to assign some action items to complete to close that gap and raise the score. That's the goal. While the employer is never given any confidential information about individual employees, they are given an overall report on the financial health of their workforce as a whole. And this data is also what drives the group education planning for those quarterly education workshops. So as you can see, this approach is much more aligned with helping employees achieve all their goals, not just the retirement ones. It's a dynamic and results-oriented platform, and it's a great addition to any kind of employee benefits program. So let's take a look at the participant's journey with WellSense. So the first step is to download the app on your cell phone or go to the company's WellSense portal, which is branded specifically for the company, and they can register there. Once they register, they're going to take that assessment we talked about. And the great thing about this assessment, somebody doesn't have to have all their statements in front of them and every last bit of detail that they need. It's really just to kind of give an overview and to kind of identify some of those gaps within those 4 main areas that we talked about earlier. Once they complete that assessment, a score pops up, and that's going to become their benchmark score. the goal is to increase that number throughout their journey towards that financial independence. The next step is to schedule a confidential consultation with a WellSense advisor, and that can be done through the app or on the desktop. The participants given available times, dates, and if there's more than one coach or advisor on the team for that company, then they'll all be listed there. One of the best features of that is that it's all automated. So it's driven through the employees' scheduling, and if they want to reschedule or cancel, they can do that all through the app. So it eliminates that back and forth of just trying to schedule. And as we know, sometimes that could be enough of a deterrent for people not to really focus on it. It can be a little overwhelming. So prior to the meeting, this is a good time to kind of look at your dashboard. The dashboard is going to feed content that is specific to that individual based on their assessment scores. And I really like that feature because not everybody is going to be working on the same types of things. So this is really specific for them. And then, of course, this is a good time to really sit down, think about where all your financial stuff is. But most importantly, it's a great time to think about your goals. Setting your long-term goals and your short-term goals is incredibly important, because if you don't do that, then it's really hard to kind of build that roadmap to get you to those goals. So having those goals in mind prior to the meeting is really, really beneficial. So let's talk about employer reporting. So the reporting capabilities provide really valuable insight into the challenges of the overall workforce. All questions that are asked in the assessment are trackable items, so we can use those to measure the overall success of the program. It allows us to focus our outreach in areas where we see trends or gaps in the overall financial health of that organization. For example, in the summary box, we can see that the overall financial score here is, let's see if I can get fancy and point, is 39. So when we take a closer look, we can see that the retirement readiness score, scored significantly lower than the personal finance here, right? This may suggest that overall the employees are doing okay with budgeting and saving, but perhaps they need some guidance on, getting ready for retirement. Maybe they need some education on tax efficient savings or help with figuring out how much income they're going to need in retirement. From an employer's perspective, this could be very valuable information to know when it's time for benefits planning and what should be offered to employees. Maybe the data suggests a committee should think about implementing auto enrollment or auto increase for their folks and take advantage of the inertia that we inherently have when it comes to retirement. The second box on the top here is going to report on the meetings that occurred throughout the year. So in this example, you see this was during COVID. There was no in-person meetings. But for this client, there was 43 meetings that were set, and there was 4 group education sessions. It also breaks it down and shows how many were one-time consult, and then 2, and then 3 or more. So that's really great information to see as well. And we'd like to see these numbers go bigger and bigger. And then finally here on the bottom, this is going to be, let me see if I can make this a little bigger so you can see it. But this is where we look at all the action items that are assigned. So the action items are specific to that individual. And so the employer can see what people are working on, which is a great feature. We can see here that 13 people in this example are increasing their deferrals, 9 are enhancing their allocations. This one here says custom action items. So the advisor who's meeting with that employee during that consultation, they can create their own custom action items for the employee, and that's going to be listed here. So these are all really great data points for an employer to really figure out, are the benefits that they're offering enough? Maybe they should be, shifting and doing something different. Or just to kind of see where that goal or where that journey is taking those employees and how they can best support them. And then this is my last slide, and it's my favorite slide because it shows a comparison from the benchmarking assessment score to a subsequent one. So this one is in 2019, the benchmark score was 41. And then 3 years later, in 2021, it went up to 72. That's a huge increase in just 3 years, which is fantastic to see. And if we look down here, we can see that even further, how that breaks out. So protection planning 37, it went up to 70, retirement planning 20 to 60. So that's making the retirement plan healthier. People are probably deferring more, and healthier plans, healthier employers, healthier employees. So it's a really great feature there. So I've spent a lot of time talking about financial wellness and how it impacts the large majority of employees in the workforce. However, that may not fit the needs of everyone. I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Rick, who's going to address the needs of those folks where this one may not be the right fit. Take it away, Rick.
Thank you very much, Holly. And
am I still sharing?
Yep. Can I now share my screen? Actually, you have to stop sharing yours, I believe.
I just did. You're all set.
Great. Well, thank you, everyone. I appreciate you having me on today. And if I sound a little off, I'm just getting over a slight COVID case, but I should be okay for today's call. As Holly mentioned, WellSense is a fantastic platform for what we consider 95 to maybe 98% of an employee base. And what we found is your C-suite or your senior level executives, maybe it's 3 to 5% of your employee base, they think they need to be treated differently. And I'll walk through a few slides that kind of support that. So I've been the architect over the past 25 years of a platform. It's a mini family office platform that we now call WellSense Plus for our NFP clients. And it really it's a fee-based platform for your C-suite level executives or your executive team, where we become their personal CFO and we get involved in every aspect of their sophisticated financial lives, whether that's retirement planning, cash flow, budgeting, estate planning, investment planning, philanthropic planning, mortgages. I mean, anything or everything that comes across their plate financially, we are either a second set of eyes or we are giving them proactive advice. Here's what other folks like you are doing and why. And then most importantly, if it makes sense, we then help to execute. That's one of the biggest keys that many of your senior executives within the C-suite just don't have the time to really focus on the myriad of their various financial issues that are coming up on a daily basis to them. So that's the value that we provide for a fee. And literally, we might speak with clients on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. So we're a very natural complement. And Holly and I have done this dog and pony show many, many times. WellSense and WellSense Plus can really capture 100% of your employees and offer that full service financial wellness and family office planning. And you probably see it within your executive base. The senior level executives or the C-suite, they just have more complicated problems and they do tend to want to be treated differently. And here are 3 basic themes that we have heard from our C-suite level clients over the past 20 some odd years. The first bullet there, I have too many advisors giving me advice. That's for the folks that say, look, I've got a CPA, an attorney, a private banker, a stockbroker, a mortgage broker, an insurance agent. Everybody's giving me advice. And now I'm supposed to be the expert in all those different fields to figure out how they all work together. I'm not. And I'd rather have one firm at 30,000 feet that just kind of sits on top of my advisors, does not replace my advisors. And that's key. We sit on top of the advisors. We work with all the advisors. So essentially all the advisors are speaking and there's one coordinated financial plan. The second theme that you see there, I just don't have the time. That's for the C-suite level person that says, look, when I get home at night, I work 6, 8, 12 hours a day. When I get home, I'd like to focus on my family and my kids. The last thing I'm thinking about is, how do I reallocate my 401k plan at work? The home that I just bought in Florida, should that be owned by a trust or not? Or God forbid I injure somebody in a car accident, how much umbrella liability coverage should I have? Or should some of my properties be owned by LLCs to insulate myself from risk? they want to just delegate that to somebody that can help them do that and execute. And then the last theme might even be the most important. If something happened to me, my spouse, he or she would have a very difficult time figuring everything out. Our lives are more and more and more complicated. We need somebody that understands the big picture. And here's the key slide that when we sit within an executive team, that typically the CFO or the CEO really digs in on this. There was a study done by Bloomberg that shows that the average executive spends an hour and a half a week of company time on their own personal financial affairs. And when you have executives, typically a CFO, looking at that, the light goes off in their head, and they kind of create that box on the right in terms of, boy, what is this costing the company? It's substantial dollars. And they say, if we could offer a platform like this for our C-suite or our senior level executives, wouldn't that be a great way to have them then focus all their time back on the company? That's going to help the bottom line. And then the last bullet you see there, it is a great recruiting and retention tool. And you've probably all seen it in your own organizations. There is a war on talent, especially at the senior level ranks. There is a need for recruiting and retaining your top executives. This is a great way to do it. So again, we become someone's personal CFO. There's a team of certified financial planners and analysts that on a daily, weekly, monthly basis are working with that executive team. Again, being a second set of eyes across all of their plans, working with all their different advisors, giving them the proactive advice, but probably the most important thing is helping them to execute because they do not have the time. If someone handed any of you a financial plan with 10 or 15 different things, you'd probably say, oh, this is great. You'd never really have the time to fully execute on that. So that's really the value of this family office platform. So we sit in the middle with your C-suite or senior level executives, and we work with all their different advisors as the personal CFO. I won't spend too much time here in the interest of time because I do want to turn this over to David Krasnow, but these are the 7 basic building blocks of financial planning. So we will build out a very, very sophisticated retirement and cash flow model. That's the basis of a lot of asset allocation, retirement plans, philanthropic strategies, risk return profiles. It's all based on, do you feel comfortable in your own retirement? Once we build the financial plan, we can play any what if scenario we want. What if our investments grow at 6% versus 8% versus -2 in this market? What if inflation stays above 5% or if it comes back down to 2%? What if I decide to buy that beach house? Can I afford to do it? If so, how much do I put down? How much do I mortgage? What type of mortgage do I take on? Those are all the different areas that we work on in that first basic level of financial planning. And that follows from left to right with the budgeting, the asset allocation, the estate planning. I'm shocked at how many C-suite level executives I see that don't even have wills, or their wills are 10 or 15 years old. But we can keep it very basic on the estate planning, or most likely we're getting very, very sophisticated. Should you be setting up GRATs and family partnerships and sales to intentionally defective trust? Is your insurance owned by an insurance trust? And then helping clients execute with their trust and estate attorney. Risk management with NFP, we can oversee and review their life insurance, disability, long-term care, property and casualty, umbrella liability coverage, and then they can go and execute with their advisors. Education planning, and probably another really important is philanthropic strategies. What's the most tax efficient way to give to charity? Most people just cut a check. That's actually the least tax efficient way to do it. We talk to clients about moving appreciated holdings and securities in kind to the charity, setting up donor advised funds, or even setting up a family foundation. So we dig in quite a bit in those areas with our C-suite level clients. So I will stop there. I think that gives a general overview. And now we'll be open for questions after this, but now I'll turn it over to David Krasnow. David, I'll stop sharing here, I hope. And you can take over.
Okay, and so share screen. Okay. Everybody see that okay? Everybody see that okay? Is that can just Rick, Holly, nod your head. Thank you. Okay.
Yep, we got it.
All right, thank you. Good morning. My name is David Krasnow, and I'm actually the founder CEO of a company called Thrive Flexible Matching Program. Excuse me, I can't speak today. That'd be kind of a good thing. And so I'm actually a retirement plan specialist and have been for 30 years. In the fourth quarter of 2017, one of my largest clients, which is a firm of engineers and architects, asked me the question. They said, is there any way that we can somehow integrate student loans into a retirement program? And I had never thought about the idea. I'd never been asked the idea, but I was enthralled by it. And so I dug in, started thinking about it, and 9 months later, kind of had my aha moment and formed Thrive. To give you a little bit of background as far as the industry, right now in our country, more than 43 million Americans have student loan debt. The debt is in excess of $1.7 trillion, with an expectation that that's going to grow by another $1 trillion in the next decade. Student loans are the largest household debt after mortgages, with the average public university amount being in excess of $30,000, and it's outpacing student tuition by only 354%. I have a library of articles, and a common theme that talks about student loans refers to it as a national crisis. So what we did is we took the idea and the concept of student loans, and we formed what we believe is the most user-friendly employee benefit program out there for employers. And so to give you a little bit of the lay of the land is that employees are asked the question, what do you want today? And so 59% of young workers have said paying off their student loans is a higher priority than saving for retirement. And so I, unfortunately, am not the young worker. I'm the older worker who believes in saving, but the millennials, which by the year 2025 will make up 75% of the workforce, is very focused on the here and the now. And so where is my want? Where is my need? And if you can give me something that will help me today, then I'm more likely to stick around and be a better and more long-term employee. I won't go through every stat right there, but the last one is I would commit to my employer for 5 years or longer if they offered some sort of employer-sponsored student loan program. And as you can see, that's 86% of the employees that are out there. And this last stat honestly bugs me, but it's the world that we live in today, is that essentially half the marketplace is out there looking for jobs. And so I have two young workers. So I was going to say 2 children in the workforce, both in New York City. And my daughter, who is 25 years old, has had more jobs at the age of 25 than I have at the age of 53. And when it's not going well or this or that, all of a sudden I feel like 3 months later, she's looking for another job. And because of what's going on in the marketplace today, she's getting them. So the key thing that we hear all the time from employers is it's all about what can we do, what benefit can we create that's going to help us attract top talent, and probably even more importantly, what's going to help us maintain the top talent that we've got. And so as it pertains to student loans, during March of 2020, the government did their part where they passed the CARES Act. And so what this essentially has said is employers, you can give up to $5,250 per employee per year, and you as the employer get it, it's tax deductible, but the employee receives this money tax-free. So that's even better than a 401k where that money is tax deferred. You get up to $5,250 per year to go towards student loan debt that is completely tax-free. That has helped, no pun intended, our business thrive. Right now, in the student loan space, there's 3 different iterations of programs that are out there. And I will tell you, Thrive has the ability to do all 3, We believe our secret sauce is the flexible matching program, but we can do any of the three. And so what is the most popular in the marketplace right now is called employer direct pay. And real simply put, this is you as an employer deciding we're going to give $100 a month to anybody that's got student loan debt. So $100 a month, 12 months of the year, that's $1,200 you're giving to an employee. From the employee's perspective, I feel like my camera just got dark. From the employee's perspective, that's great. They're getting a tax-free benefit. It's great, goes towards student loan debt. That's wonderful. From the employer's perspective, it's a brand new benefit budget item. And then for those that don't have student loan debts, they're upsetting the rest of the workforce because they're giving this benefit to those with student loans. So that's direct pay. And as far as the number of plans that are out there today, that's the most popular. The second program is called Employer Match. And what this is this has been built by many of the 401k record keepers that are out there. And they're essentially saying, we don't want money going away from the retirement plan. So we're going to create a program that's not part of the 401k plan, but sits next to it. And it allows the employer to create a brand new matching formula. This has not been very well received by companies in the nation as of yet, because it's asking both the employee and the employer to come up with additional or incremental dollars. And so, as I mentioned before, our secret sauce is called the Flexible Matching Program. And what we're doing, and I'm using this simply for illustrative purposes, we're saying there's a company today that's got a 401k that has a match that's dollar for dollar up to 6%. If the company at 30,000 feet decides to offer this benefit, there's 3 different ways that essentially employees can participate. Option number 1, where it says retirement account, there's going to be some employees who say, I just want to save for my 401k. They put 6% in the 401k. They get the entire employer match the way they've always received it. So option 1 is real simple. That's retirement only. Where things get interesting is there's a very large segment of the workforce who has massive student loan debt, and there's employees who get very excited about this. So some employees would take their entire retirement contribution down to 0. They would make a contribution into the Thrive account, which is set up as what's called a non-ERISA sidecar bucket. They make their entire contribution of 6%. The employer match follows them, and then either once a month or per pay period, this account is swept out and goes directly towards paying that student loan debt back. To the best of my knowledge, and we are competing against national companies because we are a national company, we are the only student loan provider that integrates the employee contribution with the employer match. Employers love this program because it's budget neutral. You're drawing from your employer matching dollars to make it budget neutral. Employees love it because it empowers them, and it says, where is your want? Where is your need? Is it all retirement? Wonderful. We'll continue to go that route. Is it all student loan? Great. And then the third option is it doesn't have to be an all or nothing scenario. You can split part of your contribution as well as receiving part of the match into the 401k, and the other part you can split into Thrive. And so I know I'm throwing a lot out, and we're time limited today. If there's interest, I'd love to have conversations. We started this, as Sue mentioned earlier, in 2019, and we were just offering this in regard to the student loan programs. Then about a year into it, a company came to us and said, is there any way, we love the way and the idea of how you're integrating the employee contribution with the employer match. Is there any way we could do that for a 529 program? And it didn't take us long from a technology standpoint to be able to add that. And then it's interesting. Holly had this slide talking about WellSense, about emergency savings. 60 days later, after we added the 529 component, we had somebody come to us and say, we'd like to do this where we integrate the employee contribution, the employer match for emergency savings. Can you do that? So now we have the ability that it can be any of the 3, or it can be all three on a combined basis. I will also tell you is that we had somebody 6 months ago that came to us and said, is there any way you can do this for HSAs? So we are deep in research right now. The goal is hopefully we'll be live to be able to offer an HSA component that integrates with the retirement plan the way that we're doing it hopefully by January 1st of 2023. And so I realized I went through a lot pretty quickly and just want to be respectful of everybody's time and my partners here making the presentation. So on that note, Sue, I'm going to hand it back to you if I can. There we go. Sue, you're on mute.
There we go. You'd think after 2 years we could get the mute button to work. So anyway, thank you all. That was great. We do have some questions that have come in. So at this point, we'd like to take a few minutes to address those. And for those of you who haven't either put a question in the chat or the Q&A, please do so. So one came in from Alex, and he was asking, although it's important that we're currently focused on our frontline associates and ensuring they are keeping as much of their money as possible, not so much the C-suite, will there be ideas for how to get frontline retail associates to engage in financial planning and not working paycheck to paycheck? The app gets at some of this, but again, even how to get them there would need a cost for a 3K populations. We can talk a little bit about cost, but I think, Holly, in terms of Alex's questions, do you have thoughts around that?
Yeah, I mean, that question is not, it's not unique. We hear it all the time. So obviously the hardest part is getting people to engage, right? Once they're engaged, then sitting down with them and just kind of going through some of these very simplistic, but there's a lot of them, all of these little tiny things that we can change to create more, more wealth and less coming out of your paycheck and more going into your savings. So, if people are struggling with budgeting or, living paycheck to paycheck, that's taking a look at expenses coming in, money going out, and really defining what is a need versus want. So we have all kinds of different tips and worksheets that we work through with folks on that. Sometimes a 50-30-20 rule is a good way to kind of look at that. If your company has an EAP program, that might be something to also consider. There might be some specific programs or benefits that are available to you through that. And then, of course, anytime you talk to a financial advisor, either on your own or through your company's financial wellness program or retirement plan, it's going to be incredibly beneficial. A trusted advisor can really help you identify and address those gaps in your life. And while, those folks who are living paycheck to paycheck, sometimes we just don't know what we don't know. And so having someone sitting down with us and talking to us about it, that aha moment is often, I've found in my experience, enough. So there's a lot of different ways that we can address that. And I'm happy to reach out to Alex separately to kind of go through that. Does anyone else on my panel have anything that any suggestions on that as well? Big population, a lot of turnover.
I have actually recently been working. I'm going to be taking over a role that's going to make me work with wealth management for those that are not in WellSense, and hopefully we want everybody in WellSense or WellSense Plus, but I'm actually working on a national basis right now to improve what our wealth management platform is going to be getting those that are not in the C-suite that need the same sort of hand-holding and financial planning and guidance. And so we are very early on in this, but we're improving this. And so what I would say is please stay in touch with your NFP advisor. And, we will be having good news and announcements within the next, if all's well, 60 to 90 days with that.
Great. And Holly, I know there have been some questions around fees for this program. So maybe if we can follow up with some information that we can send out with the recording, but could you just comment on some strategies you've seen employers be able to use to offset the expense of a program like WellSense?
Absolutely, yeah. So there's several different ways to do it, and it's really based on what's the best fit for the employer. Through the retirement plan, you can use forfeiture accounts to pay for this financial wellness program. There's also wellness credits that are available. It can be direct from the employer. We can take it, the employee can, split that cost. So there's a lot of different ways to kind of break this out. I would say on average, we typically see it paid through partially from either all if we can, through that account, but also through just employers paying. But it's typically we find enough money in that forfeiture account to pay for it, to offset that cost.
And I think we've also, while we can't categorically say this is across the board, but we have seen sometimes wellness dollars.
Yes.
That are secured through your benefit plan have been able to be used to offset some of this expense. So, bottom line is getting creative to see, because it is such a valuable program, and looking at ways that employers can offer it with, minimizing their expense. So great. Dave, I have a few questions that have come in relative to Thrive. So is there, in no particular order, but is there an additional fee for the employer to have a Thrive account versus 401k program only?
And the answer is yes. Thrive is an independent company. And I saw one of the other questions as well. Thrive is an independent company. One of the questions asked is that it does not matter who the 401k provider is. We are a standalone program. We are not part of a company's 401k plan. We sit next to it, again, in a non-ERISA sidecar. What we do is we charge a one-time implementation fee to the employer of $2,500. And what we're going to do is that my team is going to work with the company. You have to remit contributions. It's very similar to that of a retirement plan, but frankly, it's much easier. And then there's ongoing contributions either per pay period or on a monthly basis. So one-time implementation fee of $2,500, then an ongoing fee of $6.95 per participant per month that is enrolled in the program, with a minimum fee of $300. So if there's less than 42 employees, and we've got some, for instance, law firms that love the program, then there's a minimum fee of $300 per month. I hope I answered that question. If not, please, keep them coming.
Great. And then regarding the Thrive program, what are the differences with the federal and state taxes in terms of pre-tax benefits?
So in regard to Thrive, the employee's own contribution into Thrive would be taxable as ordinary income. The employer contribution is tax-free up to $5,250, and that's for the student loan piece. For both the 529 and the emergency savings, both the employee contribution as well as the employer contribution is taxable. So some would say, well, what is the benefit? It's opening up a door, and it's allowing this employer match to go to these programs that has never existed before.
Okay. And then does something like the student loan repayment program make sense for nonprofit businesses that qualify for PSLF program?
It absolutely does. And so we have a separate division that's called Silverline Student Loan Advisors. And what we do is, at no cost to the employer and no upfront cost to the employee, we do a free analysis of every individual outstanding loan. And so it absolutely works for 403B plans, for 457, for anything. And so if there's a retirement plan that's out there, it makes all the sense in the world. Frankly, I think this is a program that I think this is the 401k of the 21st century, in the way that it's integrating with it. And again, business has been very good in that regard. I hope I answered that question.
And there is one, what are the options for employers without a 401k?
Well, we would need to sit down. And so in that instance right there is that may be best to go to a direct pay, where the employer just decides we're going to give X amount of dollars. There are a lot of creative ways that we can come up to fund that. And again, I want to be respectful of Rick and Holly's time. If there's interest, please reach out to me directly, and I'd love to have an individual conversation that dives much further into these benefits and how they work.
Great. And for all of you on the call, we will have contact information for the presenters as well. We had a few more questions. How much can employee contribute to Thrive, if any?
Well, and there's no limit. They can put it away as much as they want to. If the employer is putting money away with it, the employer can also put away as much as they want to. However, the tax-free cap is at $5,250. So what most of our clients have done is that from a system standpoint, we have the ability to set it up that anything, it's capped at $5,250, so they don't get into some dollars are tax-free and some are taxable. But the official answer to the question is there's really no limit to it.
Right. No, that's great. And as far as, and I think you've somewhat touched on this, but I just want to be clear, for the flexible match program, assuming it's able to be integrated with any of the 401k administrators, TPAs?
We are. That's the most popular question we get asked. And again, it does not matter. It does not matter. It doesn't matter at all. You will not even need to amend your existing plan document with your 401k provider because we sit next to it. And I can certainly get into a further conversation, but no, your plan as it exists today will be unimpacted at all.
Right. Okay. And then can the employer pay directly to loan administrator?
They wouldn't pay directly to the loan administrator. What we would do is we'd set up an account. We would gather the participants' information. They would pay directly into a participant's account, and then the participant, it flows to the account. It's not going into a participant's own pocket, and so it's all directed. So they're not giving it to the employee with a wink, wink that they're going to go pay it. We're handling the processing it, but it's not directly going out the door. There's going to be one more step along the way, but it's going to kind of flow through the employee. Hopefully that makes some sense.
Nope, totally does. And then Holly, there was a question regarding, let me see here. I think it just popped out of the chat here. Let's see if I can find it back here. Hang on one second. Oh, can you please let me know where on the app I can set up a one-on-one meeting? Thank you.
Sure. So once that assessment is completed, you have to actually complete the assessment before that will pop up and say, would you like to schedule a meeting with an advisor? So if you're not seeing it, then that might be why the assessment hasn't been completely filled. But please, just if you want to reach out to me and just send me your email, I will get in contact with you and I can walk you through that if you need any help, additional help.
Great. And then Rick, there was a question as far as what are the most common issues that you see are facing those C-suite executives that they don't really have a good handle on?
Sure, Sue. Excuse me. I would probably start by saying that the biggest misconception that we hear from some benefits folks is, the C-suite level, they're fine. They have all their own advisors and they're in a good spot. They make a lot of money. I'm sure they've handled all of this. It's the exact opposite. And time again, we see that the more assets someone accumulates, the higher up the food chain they are, the more that they need a personal CFO, someone from 30,000 feet helping them to execute on all their different advisors. So to answer your specific questions, I might have, 3, 4, or 5. I would say estate planning is probably one of the most pressing, where someone doesn't have wills or their wills are very old and they need to get more and more complex. Estate laws are constantly changing. Do they own company stock that if they want to start to give to their kids? What type of trust should they be setting up? I would say another one is probably coordination of their various investment advisors. They might have 3 or 4 or 5 different accounts, whether they're taxable accounts or their retirement accounts. We come in from 30,000 feet and make sure there's no duplication. The asset allocation is not exactly the same across all of the different accounts. Gifting strategies to charity, which I mentioned before. I think that's super important, where don't just cut a check. Let's talk about a donor advised fund or setting up a family foundation. And even the basic technology. We have an online vault where clients scan in their wills, their trusts, their tax returns, the deed to their home, their business agreements, their passports, their birth certificates. anything you can humanly think of is in one central location, so that you and your advisors and your family have it all.
It's tremendous value to that. And I think the other point that you raised, which I think is important, is the fact that this is not in lieu of, replacing anything they have.
Correct.
It's really, bringing it all together and making sure it's all being managed effectively and efficiently. So
Correct. Yeah.
Great value to that. So thanks, Rick, really appreciate that. We had one more question. Is the tax-free benefit for student loans in addition to someone receiving tuition reimbursement from an internal program?
And it's not additional. And so what the government has done is they've come out and they've capped it. And so the cap, it's kind of an and or, is that you get $5,250 per year, either for student loans and or for tuition reimbursement. So you have an overall cap of $5,250 to be used between the two any way you want to.
Great. So I think that about wraps up the, let's see here. Oh, I missed a minute of the presentation. Will Holly discuss general pricing of WellSense? I know you had touched on that, Holly. I don't know if you have any other comments, but we will be including some pricing information in the follow-up.
That's what I was starting to type that, and then I heard you say that. I was like, yeah. So we'll make sure that we send out a sample. It's hard to answer that question about pricing just because it can be very flexible depending on the need of the client. So you'll get a sample one, but please reach out to me directly if you have any specific questions, and I'm happy to answer those.
Great, awesome. So at this point, first of all, great participation in the Q&A. Really enjoyed that. And I want to thank all of you for joining us today. I want to extend gratitude to our panelists. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise and insights on such an important topic. And as a reminder, we will be sending out the email with the recording along with a copy of the presentation to all of you. I do want to say, while certainly Holly, Dave, and Rick are available for follow-ups, I think the most efficient way would be to go through the NFP person who invited you to the session. They'll be able to help you navigate follow up and help coordinate that. So I would strongly encourage you to go that route. And with that, just want to thank you all again on behalf of NFP. I want to wish you all a happy and safe 4th of July holiday. Be well.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks all.